You were taught to be respectful, to ask, to wait for a signal, to make sure she's at ease. And while that mindset comes from a noble place, the outcome is often tragic. Because a woman doesn't surrender to the man who seeks intimacy. She gives herself to the one who creates it. She doesn't crave persuasion. She craves leadership. She's drawn to a man whose presence feels like gravity, not pressure, not pleading, but inevitability. And once this sinks in, you'll never find yourself needing to ask for anything again. She'll give it freely, hungrily, willingly. This isn't about strategy. It's about psychological awakening. You're about to understand what true power feels like. First, don't ask for intimacy. Awaken it. The second you ask, your power slips away. Not because desire is wrong, but because needing her approval activates her resistance, even if her heart wanted to say yes. Here's the hidden truth most never hear. You don't request intimacy from a woman. You cultivate a space where resistance dissolves on its own. Make no mistake, this isn't manipulation. This is emotional leadership. It's about making her feel so deeply seen, so securely held, so subtly claimed, that her body responds before her words catch up. If you want to touch her, don't begin with your hands. Start with the atmosphere. Begin with the unspoken space between your energy and hers. Because a woman doesn't say yes when asked. She says yes when moved. And the man who gets this doesn't speak like he's asking. He speaks like he's inviting, but with an edge. He says things like, I don't want to rush this. I just want to see if your energy matches mine. Or, you look at me like you're trying not to. Do you feel the shift? He doesn't plead. He builds tension. He doesn't request intimacy. He creates a situation where it's already unfolding, where all she needs to do, is surrender. That's the essence of the psychological game. You don't ask with words. You lead with energy. You guide her into a decision, her emotions already made. Here's how it plays out in reality. You hold eye contact, a breath longer than needed. You lower your voice, not to seduce, but to still her thoughts. You touch with intent, one hand, not two. You lean back, not forward, because the man in control doesn't pursue. He draws her in. Every movement should echo this. I'm not here for permission. I'm here for alignment. If she feels safe, she'll close the gap. If she doesn't, she won't. But either way, you didn't ask. You led, and this part. It's everything. When you stay centered in the face of her no, that's when her maybe turns into curiosity. You're no longer the guy who needs her yes. You're the one who effortlessly attracts it. And that is what makes her feel like offering herself to you was her choice. This isn't a trick. It's Stoic seduction, and it works always. Part 2. The art is in making it feel like her idea. You want her to want you. Then stop persuading. Start becoming the kind of man who lives by a single primal truth. Women don't surrender to pressure. They surrender to permission. And they only give that surrender to the man who makes it feel like the idea originated within them. That's the trick, not manipulation, but invitation. You don't move because you're given the green light. You move because the space between you is already thick with her unspoken. Yes, she wants the experience of losing herself in desire, of crossing the line without you dragging her there. Why? Because if it feels like her idea, there's no guilt, no second guessing, just liberation. And liberation unlocks her deepest, rawest expression. Here's how most men do it. They build rapport, they flatter, they show interest. Then they ask, can I kiss you? Or, wanna come back to mine? And with that, they force her into logic. Now she's weighing options, thinking it through, and logic kills intimacy. A woman falls when her emotions run ahead of her thoughts, when she feels herself leaning closer without understanding why. The man who gets this doesn't push, he pulls without pulling. He watches how she shifts. He notices when her breath catches. He doesn't react. He responds with presence. He doesn't say, "I want you." He says, "You look incredible," when you're holding something back. And suddenly she spirals. What does he see in me I didn't show? Why does it feel like I'm the one chasing? Because you flipped the frame. You didn't just graze her skin. You touched her ego. You made her feel seen, psychologically, naked, and women crave that level of exposure because it's rare. And what's rare is remembered when she feels like she initiated. Even subtly, it etches itself into her memory. She relived it because it gave her the twin high of power and surrender, control and abandon. Now, let's talk about how to deliver it. Slow down. You leave thoughts unfinished. You let the silence breathe. You don't answer everything. You build curiosity. You don't say, "Come over." You say, "I was going to spend the night alone." Unless that changes, you don't. Say, "I want you." You say, "You're impossible to ignore right now." Breadcrumbs. She follows not out of obligation, but because she needs to know where it leads. That's why the most electric moments come not from verbal consent, but emotional suggestion. If she's uncertain, she waits. If she's moved, she acts. The goal isn't to get a yes. It's to make not saying yes feel like something she'll regret. That's what sticks with her. That's what sets her on fire. You gave her the fantasy of freedom, the illusion of control, and in return, she gave you everything, like it was the most natural thing in the world. That's not manipulation. That's high-level psychological seduction, and the men who master it, they never ask. They simply create the space, and let her step into it. 3. When you lead the moment, she gives it all. There's a reason she ignored your compliment. A reason she dodged the subject when you hinted at more, not because she didn't want it, but because you put her in the driver's seat, and she didn't feel safe leading. Understand this, a woman only opens when she knows you're already holding the frame. If she senses doubt, hesitation, overthinking, she closes, because deep down she thinks, "He wants me, but doesn't know how to lead me." And if you can't lead emotionally, she won't trust you with her body. What most men miss is this. Women aren't waiting for permission to surrender. They're waiting for a man capable of holding that surrender when it happens. The man who controls the tempo, slow speech, deliberate touch, strong pauses. He doesn't wait for a move. He sets the tone so clearly that she only has one job. Follow, not because he pushed, because he made it safe to let go. And safe doesn't mean soft. It means certain. He's not asking, "Should I kiss her?" He's feeling it. And when the current is right, he moves, not fast, not forcefully, but with anchored presence. She doesn't need to be asked if she's ready. She needs to feel that you are. And when that happens, she lets go. She stops thinking, stops guarding, stops performing. Her femininity floods in. She gets wet without knowing why. She leans in without realizing, and all because your energy said, "I've got this. Here's the truth." Most women have never experienced that. A man fully grounded, fully aware, fully free from outcome. They're used to men who rush, who apologize for wanting, who act bold until she pulls away, then crumble into boys again. And that's when she detaches. But the Stoic man, the one who moves with calm, listens deeply, and leads without needing, he becomes the container for her chaos, and that's what she's really seeking. Not performance, not pleasure, but relief. So if you want more than just her body, if you want her soul, then slow down, lead, speak less, let your breath carry the energy. Let your hands guide, not grab. She'll feel it, she'll feel you, and this is what happens next. She leans in, laughs softer, touches more. She mirrors your rhythm, and when the moment's right, she gives you everything, not from pressure, but because she felt chosen, because for once she didn't have to try, didn't have to lead, didn't have to carry the moment. That's the desire behind her desire. Relief, and only one type of man gives her that. The one who leads, who doesn't ask, "Is this okay?" but says with every breath and pause, "This is yours." When you're ready, and when she is, she doesn't hesitate, doesn't hide, and she never forgets, because true intimacy isn't asked for, it's created, and the man who knows how to create it, he lives in her memory, forever.